Here are all 7 forms of Kafka in Kaiju No.8, and the form he used to end No.9 wasn't even his final form. Let's start at the beginning, his human form, the most obvious and easily the weakest form of Kafka. If you think about it, this is the real foundation for him becoming an absolute kaiju killer. And no, I'm not just talking about that time he accidentally swallowed the insect kaiju. At 32, Kafka was about as average as a guy with back pain gets. Sure, sweeping kaiju guts for a living made him a bit more athletic than your average office worker, but that's about it. He could sprint fast enough to pull Reno out of a Yoju's jaws, and he almost died doing it. And if Mina had shown up just a few seconds later, we might be watching Kaiju number Reno. He wasn't strong enough to qualify for the defense force, and barely had any compatibility potential. But here's the twist. Years as a sweeper made him a walking kaiju encyclopedia. He could spot weak points, figure out attack patterns, and improvise ways to exploit them on the fly. Which means once he got his kaiju powers, let's just say the monsters never saw it coming. Speaking of, next up is the initial kaiju form. This is the form Kafka used the most, and yet he didn't even know how to use some of its most terrifying abilities. After Mina saved him and he was recovering in the hospital, the insect kaiju popped out of nowhere and, let's just say, gave him the most cursed mouth-to-mouth in anime history. In a single frame, Kafka went from absolute trash to OP beyond logic. He had a humanoid kaiju body with dark armored skin, and an insect-like skull with jagged teeth, and exposed bone plating along his arms, chest, and legs. His starting fortitude, 9.8. For context, number 9 debuted at only 8.5. From the moment he transformed, the feats piled up fast, casually gripping a hospital wall until it collapsed, sprinting like a freight train, sensing kaiju like a radar, and one-shotting a Hojun into chunky salsa. Later, he even hit number 9's head clean off with a single hit, and he did it twice. And of course, his most legendary ability, peeing from his nipples. Peak anime. His regeneration was also insane. But here's the thing. There's an ability in this form so strange, so dangerous that we barely saw it in action. Like in chapter 2 when Kafka got confused about his own identity for a moment. The humanoid kaiju form changed and went a bit crazy. And if you think about it, it's similar to the metamorphosis of Kaiju No.9. So if he tried properly, he could have probably unlocked shapeshifting. Oh, and then yes, there's the predatory tongue. Whether it's lethal or just awkward, I think Mina's gonna probably find out and tell us one day. Coming up is the partial transformation. Forget his giant kaiju form. This half-baked, half-human look might be the real reason Kafka made it to the finale. We first saw hints of it in chapter 3, when he started losing control of his kaiju side. Even when he tried to force it back, random parts of him, sometimes just his mouth, sometimes his whole face would transform on their own. By chapter 4, he figured out how to weaponize it. He could pick up a car with bare hands without fully transforming. Or during the Tachikawa base attack, he used just enough kaiju power to smash through enemies without revealing his identity to the defense force. Partial transformation meant he could unleash kaiju strength while still looking mostly human. It was the ultimate middle ground, strong enough to survive enemy attacks, subtle enough to avoid becoming target number 1. And here's the kicker. Without it, a kaiju would have killed him in minutes. And if he'd gone full form, Hoshina would have sliced him clean in half. Next is Kafka's Berserk form. Some fans don't even count this as a separate form. I think they're wrong, because nothing else in the series looks this unhinged. After revealing his kaiju form at the end of the Tachikawa base attack, Kafka was arrested. Isao Shinomiya wanted to know if there was still a human under all that monster, and he picked the most direct way to find out. He put on weapons number 2 and ragdolled Kafka so hard he lost a leg in seconds. The pressure, the pain, and the fear of losing control pushed Kafka over the edge, and Kaiju No.8 began taking over completely. What happened next was chaotic. His movements turned erratic. His posture dropped into an animalistic crouch. Kafka's every movement was instinct, and the killing intent was so high people felt suffocated. This is also the time we see how strong number 8 really was. Every strike had so much speed and power that Isao was one hit away from death. Only one thing stopped him: Kafka's last shred of control. He stabbed himself in the chest before the Berserk state could finish the job. And that control he got back at that time is what this next form is all about. The controlled combat form. If Kafka hadn't unlocked this, the final battle would have been over in a single chapter. After barely surviving Isao's little test, Kafka was reinstated into the defense force and finally got his MC training arc. And this form is what he ended up with after that. At first glance, it didn't look much different from the initial form, but in terms of abilities, this was almost 100 times better than before. His build was more refined, more balanced, with better weight distribution. The real change though was in his attacks. He mastered the Hoshina family's hand-to-hand combat and squadron-style techniques, adding moves like Force Blast, Twin Blast, and Rising Blast to his arsenal. And now he could channel all the power and speed from his Berserk state without losing control. By this point, he'd already surpassed Isao, the guy who nearly ended him just chapters earlier. We saw him obliterate Kaiju No. 13 in a single building level punch, then go toe-to-toe with number 9 even after it unlocked number 2's fusion form. And in the finale, with Gen's help, Kafka landed the killing blow on number 9 in this form. If only the story had ended there, we wouldn't have had Kafka's next form without that last fight. Let's call this one the Super Kaiju No. 8. This is the form where Kaiju No. 8 decided to shamelessly borrow a few things from Attack on Titan, even more than it already had. After landing the final blow and breaking number 9's core, we got a brief flashback from number 9's perspective. But then, boom, the Mireki-era mega monster trapped inside it was unleashed. With number 9 gone, it went completely berserk, and in a single hit, stole Kafka's heart. Yes, stole his heart, like Kakashi and Rin. Kafka then got his own flashback, this time to the insect kaiju's memories, and saw it was born from the emotions of samurai who died fighting that same mega monster. This thing was his direct rival, communicating with those spirits. Kafka sacrificed his heart and came back from the dead as the true Kaiju No. 8. The original armor began cracking, peeling away, revealing raw kaiju skin underneath. And then, the rumbling started. Sorry, wrong anime. When the dust cleared, number 8 had a full body white bony armor, 2 fresh horns jutting from his skull, and full final boss energy. His fortitude was off the charts, and even a single punch could send shockwaves tearing through the battlefield. And yet, even with all that hype, he still needed the power of friendship to put the mega monster down. After the fight, because this upgrade came from turning Kafka's heart into a kaiju core, he was supposed to disappear with the samurai spirits. But instead, the author yanked plot armor straight out of a magician's hat and gave us one last form. Let me call it the post-sacrifice form. The only form we never got to see in action, yet. We catch a glimpse of it in the series' final chapter, after Kafka magically came back to life, thanks to Isao, who by the way was supposed to be fused inside number 9's body, pulling out his own kaiju heart and shoving it into Kafka's chest like he was jump-starting a car. Visually, it looked like a fusion between the initial number 8 form and the Super Kaiju form. His armor plates had more white detailing, and the horns from the Super Kaiju form were still there, making him look like the fully evolved version of himself. His fortitude level became immeasurable, and that's pretty much all we know, which also happens to be one of the biggest reasons there's a real chance we might see a Kaiju No. 8 sequel someday. But even with all that power, Kafka might just be barely strong enough to fight with number 9's 6th form, which by the way is not even its strongest form.